This right here is the Roccat Torch Desktop USB, actually studio grade desktop USB microphone. It's selling for $100 US, so it's not really the cheapest option out there on the market to get yourself up and running with a plug and play desktop microphone, but it does promise to deliver some pretty interesting and unique features. So let's check it out. In the box, we got a little paperwork. It's just a small quick start guide to get you up and running, really simple stuff. We've got 3 USB cables. There's a small USB-C to C, a USB-A to C, and then a really long USB-C to C. And here's the microphone. It comes fully assembled and attached to its base right there. Build quality feels good. We've got a plastic base down here and a plastic frame all the way around the mic. It's a really hard plastic though, and it feels really strong. And then this top plate, it's nice brushed aluminum. It's the same stuff that they use on their Roccat branded keyboards, and that's a good thing because I always like that material. It feels really good, nice and premium, gives it a nice look as well. And then this up here, this mesh on the microphone, that's a nice strong metal material. And overall, like, it's just a really solid feeling product. Like you can't shake it and feel any loose parts or anything like that. You really are getting a nice premium feeling build here. If we put it on the scale, it's coming in around 500 grams for the stand and the mic together. If we break it down, the stand comes in around 207 grams and the mic itself is around 293 grams. The mic pivots around the stand a little bit so you can go forwards and back with it and turn it from side to side to help get it into the ideal position, facing the audio source the best as possible. And then on the bottom, we've also got some anti-vibration rubber pads down here. So the idea here is that should help reduce those vibrations coming up into your microphone and ruining your recorded audio. There's a few more knobs and controls on the Torch than you might be used to seeing on a standard desktop USB microphone, but they're actually really straightforward and simple to use. So starting off on the left-hand side, it's actually your on-off switch I'll mention first. If you turn it all the way to the right, that's how you turn the microphone right off. And then selecting any one of those pickup patterns will turn the microphone on. So what you're really doing with this knob is either turning it off or selecting the way you want to pick up your audio. So the first one here is a whisper mode, and what that does is it really just boosts the sensitivity and allows you to pick up quieter sounds. So if you were gaming at night, for example, and you want to be as quiet and discreet as possible, you might want to use the whisper mode. It allows you to speak lower and still get a decent amount of gain and sensitivity to record some clean audio or stream or whatever you're doing. So that's what that one does. And then the middle one is, I think, the most important one. This is the cardioid pickup pattern, and this is what we're used to seeing on desktop microphones. Microphones that don't let you select a pattern will typically be a cardioid pattern. And what that means is it's picking up what's directly in front of the mic and sort of canceling out or ignoring what's happening around it. And that makes it the ideal way to pick up audio for basically gaming, streaming, podcasts, or whatever, where you've got a single point source of audio and you don't want all those unwanted sounds behind it. So that's probably where you're gonna be most of the time. If you pick up this microphone, you're gonna hang out in that cardioid mode right there. And the last one here is stereo. So that's kind of the opposite of the cardioid pattern, where instead of picking up what's only in front of the mic and blocking out what's around it, it's gonna try and pick up everything that's in your space. So that's ideal for, let's say you have a band and you want to record the audio, and when you're having a jam session or something like that, it wouldn't make sense to use cardioid because it's gonna emphasize whatever you're pointing the mic at. If that's the guy playing the guitar, then everything else won't be as vibrant. It'll kind of focus on that. Whereas in stereo, it'll pick up the entire ambient room sound. So if you've got all these instruments playing together and you mix your audio properly, that's the one you want to be in so that you can pick everything up. So that's an ideal pattern for that type of situation. The middle dial is a volume adjustment. So basically that's going to control the volume of your headphones, your speakers, whatever you have connected. And there is a 3.5mm jack on the back of the mic. So you can plug your headphones right into there if you want, and then just control your audio or your volume right here. And it's also a mute button. So if you press it straight down, the microphone will turn red and let you know that you've muted it, press it again, and basically unmute. So really easy to access controls right there to mute, unmute, move your volume around if you need to. And then on the right over here, we have our gain slider. So that's gonna set the sensitivity of the microphone. And this is really nice to have right here on the base because you can make on-the-fly adjustments, change that sensitivity, make sure you've got your audio coming in at the levels that you want it without having to touch any software. That's a really handy thing to have right there. If you take a look at the RGB along the sides of the mic here, that actually moves up and down with the gain slider. So if I slide the gain down, the lights come down. If I slide it up, they go back up. It's kind of a quick visual representation of where your gain's at. It's not 100% necessary because, I mean, you could just glance down at the knob and see where you're at on the slider here. And more importantly, you should be setting your gain based on the levels in your recording program. So I'm not sure how necessary that is, but let's be honest, it looks cool. So that's probably why it's there. Right at the front of the bass, there's a little panel here that tells you when you're live or when you're muted. So if you just toggle that to mute, it'll light up and show you that it's muted. Also, the microphone turns red, so it's pretty obvious, but still pretty cool little added bonus, little extra features so that it's easy to see what's going on down there. And then up top, we have this touchless or contactless mute feature where there's a little sensor up here and all you have to do is move your hand over the top of the microphone and it will mute it for you. So you don't actually have to touch anything. And the reason that matters is because when you press a mute button, sometimes the microphone will pick up a little bit of that vibration of your finger touching the mic or whatever before the actual mute function kicks in. And that can be kind of a jarring sound in your recorded audio or if you're streaming live or something like that. So with this touchless mute feature, that's never going to be an issue. You're live, you're muted, and you never actually have to touch anything. So I think that's a really cool feature and I'd like to see that on more microphones out there in the future. At the back, we've got a 3.5mm jack for your headphones or your speakers, and then we've got a USB-C port for connecting to your PC, another USB-C port to connect the mic to the bass, and then this is a slider that lets you adjust the distance for the touchless mute sensor on the top of the mic, and then finally there's a little button down here that controls the brightness of the RGB lighting. To get everything set up and running, all we need to do is connect the mic to the base with the short cable, and then the USB A to C cable goes right next to that and then plugs into your PC. And that's it. It's all plug and play. It's a regular desktop USB microphone. It's supposed to be simple. That's the whole point of these things. You plug them in and you're good to go. And that's exactly how this works. This audio is being recorded directly from the Roccat Torch onto the computer behind me. So this is basically what you can expect in terms of performance. And right now we've got the most ideal setup that I think you can possibly get, where I'm really close to the mic. I'm directly in front of it, not off on an angle or anything like that. I'm in that cardioid pickup pattern mode, so it's gonna pick up what's directly in front of the mic and sort of block out those unwanted noises behind it, or at least that's what it's supposed to be doing. So that's the whole point of this test, is to see how it works out. So I think this is the setup that most people are going to find themselves in, where you're basically gaming or streaming and it's just you, a single audio source talking into the mic. So let's move it around and try some different things to see what kind of performance we can get under different circumstances. So maybe you don't want the mic sitting like right in front of your face like I have it right now. Maybe you want it pushed back closer to where your monitor would be. Let's go ahead and move that now off to the side here. So now the distance is greater, it's off to the side a little bit. I mean, we can position it and rotate it so it's still a more direct line pickup pattern here. What does this sound like? Do you guys think this is okay? Is it acceptable? This is a common situation where people will push the mic a little bit further away so it's not a distraction in front of them or something like that. So you can do this with it. And what happens when you throw a keyboard into the mix? Like, how much of those key sounds is it going to pick up? That's pretty important as well when you're gaming, obviously. So we've got a mechanical keyboard here. We'll just do a little bit of typing and see what this setup sounds like. And maybe you're just using the gaming keys over here. Now let's do the same thing, but reverse the position. We'll go back to where the mic is actually in front of the keyboard, and we'll see if that cardioid pattern helps reduce some of those sounds from the keyboard as well. So the idea here is you want to be able to focus on my voice and what I'm saying and not so much of that keyboard sound. And the other really important consideration here is vibration. Is the microphone picking up all sorts of vibration sounds when I'm typing and kind of reverberating back into the recorded audio? That can be very annoying and distracting, and that's why a lot of people will switch to something that has a shock mount built into it, which this one does not, or actually get the microphone right off of the table and the stand altogether and mount it on a separate boom arm so that it's isolated from those vibrations. So we'll just press the keys a few more times and see if we can hear any of those vibrations coming through and see if it's an issue. Now we got the mic connected to this boom arm that's on its own separate stand that's completely independent and separate of this desk. So that means we can game as hard as we want. We can bang on this keyboard and slam our mouse around, and no matter what, we're not going to get any of those unwanted vibrations reverberating up into our recorded or streamed audio. So we can pound on these keys all day long, and it's just not going to be an issue. And this is a popular setup that podcasters like to use, where you get the microphone suspended and really close to the audio source, and it lets you get that nice rich sounding audio with not a lot of distracting noises in the background. So it lets you drop that gain a little bit because you're closer to the source, and hopefully you can get it into a position where it's not going to be too distracting for you. So if you don't mind getting a boom arm, this is a really good setup. So having just listened to all that audio, I gotta say, I am very impressed with the Roccat Torch. I think it's doing an awesome job. That audio sounded crisp and clear. It even sounded good when I pushed the mic away and got it a little bit further away from me. Not an ideal setup, but a setup that a lot of people might find themselves in, because you might not want this giant microphone sitting right in front of your face all the time. So really good audio quality all the way around in every setup that we tested. One thing that I found really interesting was how well this thing seems to keep vibration sounds at a minimum. There's no shock mount built into here. All we have is those rubber pads on the bottom, and that's really impressive. If you check out my review on the HyperX SoloCast, I love the sound of that mic, but my God, does that thing ever pick up vibrations. And I figured this would do the same thing because there's no shock mount built in, but I was definitely surprised by the performance there. And obviously you have the option to just stick it on a boom arm where that's not an issue anyway, and any of those little vibrations that it does happen to pick up would just be completely eliminated if you go with that type of setup. Overall, I really like this microphone. I think it's offering a lot for the $100 price tag, and I wasn't sure that that was gonna be the conclusion when I first got my hands on it. Because let's be honest, these days, there's a lot of options out there. This is a really competitive market when it comes to these types of microphones, and there's really good options that are like half the price of this one. So, you know, what's it doing to justify that price tag? Turns out a lot. This thing has outstanding audio quality, and that's true in all sorts of different setups, whether it's on a boom arm right in front of you, behind your keyboard, by your monitor. It's giving you really good quality audio no matter what. And then you've got all those extra features that this thing brings to the table. You've got touchless muting, you've got different pickup patterns, you've got a volume control, gain control, all that stuff right there on the bass that you can make adjustments right on the fly without having to fuss around with any software. That just takes this whole experience to the next level and justifies that price tag as far as I'm concerned. So if you want a really awesome desktop USB microphone and you're not afraid to throw down $100, then definitely check out the Roccat Torch. I'm gonna have some links down in the description, so make sure you check those out. I'll throw some other information and tech specs about it down there as well. And make sure you hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up on your way out, and we'll see you soon.